So we'll be listening to Namkhai Norbu chanting the Song of the Vajra, the song of the awareness. And Vajra means indestructible, the indestructible consciousness. Indestructible, primordial knowingness. So welcome everybody to a little meditation seminar this morning. This will be on Dzogchen, which is actually the same, becoming aware of our own awareness, holding awareness, entering awareness, and becoming this awareness. Aham, ah, and becoming what I am. And I'm going to start just by reading what is called a concise nundro. And in the Dzogchen practice, in many of the Tibetan practices, they do a prayer like this, or an invocation like this, because it's an invocation to bring forth this awareness in one's own body. Just like the chant we heard, the Song of the Vajra, is another invocation to bring forth the experience of the luminous awareness. And there's copies of this upstairs, and you're welcome to take one with you. And it begins this way. I invoke the Guru. And here the Guru is self-revealing awareness. And I remember the briefness of life and the wonderful opportunity that is given to me. And I turn my mind and my heart to the Dharma, which is becoming oneness. I go for refuge within the radiant light of my own innermost awareness, the true basis of all. Whatever I accomplished not only for my own self, but for everyone. This is taking the Bodhisattva posture, that everyone may become happy in the oneness of divinity. I offer everything that I am and know to the sublime luminosity of consciousness. Above me and surrounding me and within me is the light of pure awareness, from which comes the luminous nectarian stream that purifies my obscurations, that allows me to see, to know, knowingness itself, in my own body, in the bodies of the others, and actually in the body of the physical world itself. And then there's this invocation. Om is the supreme praise and the supreme sound. I am committed, pardon me again, a little bit of a cold here. I'm committed to the purity of awareness. O Vajrasattva, protect my commitments. And Vajra means the indestructible, and Sattva means the pure, subtle beingness of being. O Vajrasattva, protect my commitments, remain firm within me, and give me complete satisfaction. Come forth within me, be loving within me, and grant me the power of compassion, which is the power of oneness. Make my mind complete in goodness and in the sublime aspirations. Hum is the heart essence syllable. That's the vibration of the inner heart, the source. Ha, ha, ha is the 4 stages of oneness. And by this the yogi means that first of all we begin to have somewhat oneness. We begin to experience the awareness and the awareness field. And then that oneness deepens and becomes more pervasive, and then finally it becomes complete. Emaho is the sound of happiness and joy. O luminous radiance, never leave me, and give me the realization of indestructible awareness, indestructible oneness. Make me one with you. Ah is oneness. So I bow to the Guru, self-revealing awareness within me and beyond me. Om Ahum Vajra Guru Padmasiddhi Hum, to the primordial Guru, primordial consciousness, which is in us all. And I embrace the limitless light in this life and the next. And that's a very traditional format of doing Nundro practice. So for instance, some of you will be doing the retreat that we'll be having on the Yeshe Lama, which is actually a summation course of Dzogchen, written by Yegme Lingpa in the 17th century, and it's considered perhaps the apex of Dzogchen teachings, and it's a most beautiful text, and the translations just come up, and we'll be having that retreat. But to prepare yourself for that retreat, one should meditate on a regular basis, and also do the Nundro. It will help us enter into that dimension of awareness. So having said that, let's jump in and for a moment suspend our mind. Even if we don't know how to suspend our mind, let's suspend our mind just for a moment, as if we can suspend it just for a second. And if you want to, Sharon gave that wonderful little method of just breathing from the back of your head to your forehead, from the back of your head to your eyes, and the back of your head to the palate of your mouth. That helps us enter into awareness, non-conceptual awareness. Knowingness. Simple knowingness. So as we become aware of our own awareness, even a little bit, we enter into it. We establish ourselves in it. We gain stability in this awareness, which is not our mind. It is not thinking, it is not an affect, it is not a sensation like an itch, it is not a memory, it is not a fantasy. Awareness is unto itself. You can feel it. You can be it. It opens like space. And yet the space is alive. And there's clarity in it. Luminous clarity. Thoughts may come through, feelings and sensations, yet you're still in the non-conceptual space. That is its primary. The thoughts, the sensations organize us a lot less. They become thin, less dense, thin. And this awareness as it arises, it's pure, meaning all thoughts of experience can pass through it, yet it remains the same. It is the container of experience. It is the knower of experience. Gnosis, knowingness, direct, unmediated. And wherever this awareness is, there's oneness. So if this awareness is only in my heart, I'll feel oneness there. If I'm able to expand this this oneness through my body, this awareness from my body will feel more integrated. If I'm brave enough to extend out beyond the body boundaries into the immediacy of my situation, I will feel more oneness in the immediacy of my situation, even if I do not like it. So with that understanding, we're going to extend our awareness through our body. This is all learning by doing. We'll miss 3 times and get it once. Then the feeling will guide us. It's like raising your forefinger. To this day, I do not know how I do this, but I can. So we'll extend through the body, awakening awareness, awakening the energy, awakening the chakras, intensifying, activating. As we learn to extend through our bodies, we begin to get the glimpse that this awareness is not a state like other psychological states. And it's not a feeling. But it has like field characteristics, field qualities. It opens and closes. It extends beyond the body boundaries. And actually in reality it's infinite in its horizons. It's multidimensional. And we learn to extend our perception. The great Dzogchen master Dorje Rinpoche would say over and over again, the secret is extension. It's like claiming the dimensions of our own awareness, embodying this awareness. More often than not, this awareness is trapped in the mind, even in the functions of the mind. No space. But as we're able to become aware of awareness itself, then it opens. Knowingness, knowingness. As we're able to gaze not simply at our mind, our thoughts, fantasies, and sensations, or even others simply through the mind, but we begin to gaze into the gaze itself. Then the field opens. And just like in the great text of the Bhagavad Gita, we find ourselves in the field. The yin, the great expanse, as the Dzogchen masters call it. So then we can extend this awareness to each other now. There's no effort. Let's extend right now. Now all this happens naturally in our life. When we see someone, we love someone, we can feel that natural unboundedness. Let's extend again. The true mandala is the mandala of our situation. So for the Dzogchen, one learns to extend to the situation, to bring awareness. Therefore, whatever happens, happens in awareness. Happens good, bad, or indifferent, happens in awareness. And that is natural liberation. Whatever I experience in the awareness field is a source of liberation. I'm not so bound by it, captured by it, eaten by it, devoured by it, lost in it. Then I can meet the situation. Dzogchen is always very singular. It's very unabstract. It's the singularity of the moment, the singularity of the situation. That is the path of realization. For the Dzogchen tradition, the path of realization is the singularity of the moment, the singularity of the situation as it manifests in you and I, just as we are. Completely just as we are. Their understanding is so complete that it's awareness itself. All the great yogis, whatever traditions attain liberation, the Buddhas. And though it's very simple, it's not easy. To sustain oneself, to be in this awareness ongoingly. To be in the space, to feel the energy of it, to feel the luminosity, to feel the purity, to feel the oneness. So next we're going to extend to our ancestors, because you and I are a manifestation of them, we're extensions of them. So we extend to the ancestral, the generational field, which actually organizes a lot of our life, even if we don't know it. So we extend to the generational field. With each extension, awareness is extending to awareness, The primordial guru, the light of our own awareness, is extending to the light of awareness in our body, in our situation, now to the ancestors. We can also extend to the karmic field. The karmic field is our karma in this life. All the people we've met, all those situations, we extend to that. Then we'll extend to the teachers, the great yogis we know, holy people, whatever the traditions, throughout our life, who have helped support us in the becoming aware of our own awareness. Who have felt that in us, and we have felt that in them, even if we couldn't put it to words. Out of oneness. Then we'll extend to our traditions that we participate in. Nowadays, with geography being so tiny, information so available, we can participate in lots of traditions and lots of initiations. And so these traditions mix in our bodies as we become a universal person, thinning the tribal boundaries. This is also happening in spirituality. Then finally we're going to extend to that mysterious dimension of our own awareness, which is archetypical. The archetypes, the personifications, the symbolizations of the primordial qualities of consciousness itself. The deities and the devas, dakinis. We'll extend to them. and bring that dimension into apparency. So having done that, you and I have entered awareness and becoming it, and we've extended it, the boundaries, and anchored ourselves in it. This way, we can also integrate our mind into our own awareness. We can integrate the thinking function, feeling function, memory, sensation, fantasy, imagination. And that way, we can live in awareness. We can think in awareness. And the awareness illuminates, infuses the mind, the darknesses of the mind, unbounds the twistedness of sequences. In the Dzogchen tradition, this awareness is our own innermost awareness. You and I become aware of it. And yet the same awareness is also infinite in its horizons, vast and multidimensional. It is not another awareness. It is not a deeper awareness. It is not a secret awareness. It is not the unfound awareness. It is not behind the green door awareness. It is the same awareness that hears this crackly voice. It's the same awareness that feels the sensations. It's the same awareness that feels its own self. But as we enter it and become it, it then begins to reveal its different dimensions. Alas, we can never know awareness through our mind. That is why it's so hard to put it to words. We can never quite think awareness. You can imagine all sorts of metaphors. But it's not really like getting wet in the rain, So awareness cannot be known by the mind. It can point out stuff, like this little talk's attempting to do. But actually, it can only be known by becoming aware of it, by gazing into the gaze, by entering into it, and by becoming that which we already are. And at that moment it begins to open. It cannot be thought. It is only known by awareness itself, by direct perception. And the more we know awareness within our own being, and this awareness begins to manifest within us, because as you and I become aware of it, the very act of becoming aware of it intensifies and helps bring it forth from within. We feel that presence, just like you do right now, arising spontaneously. From the heart. And as we experience those great qualities of that divine space, that openness, and as the other qualities begin to manifest, like luminosity, clear light, and our direct perception, our knowingness. This is not the direct perception of mind reading. That's incidental. but of knowingness in our own bodies. And as you and I learn to situate ourselves in that place, which is ultimately not in our head but in the heart, then we begin to experience the second leap. The first leap's in ourself, and then the second leap is into the other. A dog who's our great friend, a friend, a lover, a child, someone sick. But the second leap we begin to experience out of resonance. We begin to experience that same awareness in the other. With this, oneness arises, the true oneness, not the oneness of the same thought meeting the same thought, the same touch meeting the same touch, the same fantasy meeting the same fantasy, the same memory meeting the same memory, the same affect meeting the same affect. Illusionary, but the oneness of awareness. As that oneness and awareness between us arises, then the disagreements of the mind can be held more easily. In the Dzogchen tradition, first one's located in the mind and meets all the other minds. Then one day, one becomes aware of the mind, and in that moment, one begins the path of liberation, the natural path of liberation, of discovering they're not their thoughts. And then one takes the next big step and becomes aware of awareness itself. The object of awareness becomes its own self. And in those moments, then awareness begins to manifest itself really. And the qualities begin to be felt. And one can begin the possibility of integrating their mind into this awareness field. Then there's the next step, a big step, a great step. As a person starts to become this awareness, not just holding it, not just being in it, but one starts to become this awareness by practice, nothing magical, not just a good stroke of luck, the right prayer, the right blessing. One starts to become awareness. And then it really opens up what the yogis call the kayas, the dimensions of awareness. And at that point, one begins to experience that this is a multidimensional world, a multidimensional cosmos. Not believing it, because as you and I know so well, right behind belief is doubt. Right behind every belief is doubt. They are brother and sister forever together. And then the kayas begin to open. And the first kaya that opens is Namaya Kaya. Not necessarily the first one that opens in sequence, because it can open any place. But one is Namaya Kaya, which is the kaya, the dimension of earth. It's us, just sitting in the room, just as we are. But the kaya opens, and that means one is experiencing awareness, experiencing the field, experiencing knowingness, experiencing the space, experiencing the great affection, experiencing the light in the place, in the situation. one feels the oneness arising beatifically. And then one begins to glimpse that the beatific state is not an after-the-death phenomena, a promise, but begins to appear in this life. One begins to experience beatificness in one's own self and in other people and in situations just as they are. Then the second kaya begins to manifest itself. So one begins to see the background of the Nirmayakaya, the base of the Mayakaya. One begins to see and experience the different realms, the different dimension. One begins to experience the vortexualness and realizes the human beings are the vortexes and places. One begins to see and experience the light and the energy. And one begins to experience the deities. One begins to have visions, not visions of imagination, but direct perception of the powers of consciousness itself as it manifests itself. Light and energy, movement, luminosity, clarity. And then the Dharmakaya opens. Pure awareness, pure space, pure void, unbound potential, but no appearance, just there. Vast emptiness. Filled with love. Then at times, this then becomes the fourth kaya. One begins to experience the kayas simultaneously at the same time. And there's a person, and there's the light, and there's the vastness, all in the same singularity, all in the same glimpse, all in the same gaze. And one begins to live more and more in the time of awareness, which is timelessness. So one begins to experience himself both in time and in timelessness. And the yogis know that as long as one is in the mind, death is horrible. And the bound, the doorway cannot be crossed. From the point of view of the mind, hope and dread, brother and sister. But as one enters awareness of awareness and begins to experience the different kayas, and begins to experience the Dharmakaya, then death is the Dharmakaya. Death is entering that dimension. The same thing with the bardos. Death is Sambhogakaya, experiencing the manifestation of the divinities. And with that, a liberation arises, natural liberation. So what are some of the little steps? There's no one step and there's many, but one is simply the practice of suspending our mind. And then we go into a thought-free state. But thought-free states can either be completely thought-free or sort of thought-free. Doesn't make that much of a difference, because this, as long as awareness is being manifest, then we can learn to think and feel and act from awareness. So we integrate the mind from the very beginning. As we integrate the mind from the very beginning, then the kayas begin to open. From the manifest of compassion in this world, out of oneness, to the manifestation of the luminosity, out of oneness, to the unmanifest of the Dharmakaya. One of the major there are many methods, but one of the methods is so simple. You think for something as valuable as this and as great as this, you have to cut your fingers off. You have to really sacrifice. You can't eat this and you can't do that. Of course. If you don't eat this or that, it may be good for your health, may not be, but it won't get you Dharmakaya. You can even be a very good person. It has its own rewards. You can even be a bad person, a rat. It has its own rewards. Some are very public right now. But it won't get you Dharmakaya. So immediately that teaching starts to arise. That's why Muktananda told me many years ago, and there's a get beyond judgment. Get beyond right and wrong. What? Get beyond good and evil. What? Get beyond better and best. What? Get beyond truth and falsity. What? Anything but that. I'll do 75 mantras, treat my dog well, say hello to people I dislike, pray for liberation. Help me, help me. But in the great book, the Yeshe Lama, the major method is suspending judgment about yourself and others. That's a lot, isn't it? My God. I mean, how are you going to get along? How are you going to move? But suspending judgment. Every time we make that judgment, right, wrong, good, bad, true dog, false, we lock ourselves and fixate ourselves. And rather than being in the open, unbound spaciousness, we lock ourselves into the density of a reality so judgment, mental judgment, and it is not to be like, oh, don't judge others lest you be judged. That's a very good thing. It's a nice ethical thing. This is not ethics. It is the power of how awareness works. To gain all that. To experience that big view. To see through the compassion, which is oneness. Compassion's not empathy, feeling other people's pain. Huh? It's actually quite the opposite. It is seeing and feeling the luminosity in everybody. Maybe that's why judgment doesn't help us. it dims the light. So the Dakinis laugh at this point. All this to become aware of awareness, and it winds up that the major method is not making judgments, neither affirming or denying, needing say yes or no. Experiencing it, the unfolding of our life in that space. Of course, I'm really happy there are also other techniques. Another method, as we integrate the mind, you look into the experience of hatred, anger, lust, graspiness, greed, and you experience within those affects awareness. Now, if you believe any of this, it just doesn't help, by the way. You can believe it all, but if it's in the mind, it's at the wrong level of discourse, as they say. You follow it? So if you just believe it, ain't going to help. That doesn't sound right, does it? You'd think if I believed it, there should be some value to it. Well, the belief sort of helps us work it, that we can get into it. So whatever arises from the mind and the body, we begin to experience it. We begin to see into it. We begin to gaze into it as awareness itself. But not as a belief, but because we actually have done it long enough. We've hung out with it. We've stayed in that open state. We've stayed in the openness. Awareness is the union of appearance and openness. In certain traditions, they make a big cleavage here. They cut. Oh, it's just the openness. And all the appearances you see in the world are delusions. You with me? A deluded person. But in the great Dzogchen, appearance is the manifestation of the light. Appearance is divinity, whether it's the human being's face, an animal's face, and whether it's the deity's faces in the Sambhogakaya dimension. The entire awareness is exactly the same. Dharmakaya is not better than Sambhogakaya, which is definitely better than Nirmayakaya. Those distinctions are also deconstructed. The great Dzogchen path is like a big eraser. You have all these things you do before, and as you move into that, it sort of erases the whole thing. That can be discouraging and disheartening, you know? And yet, the admonition of the great yogis is to keep moving. Say you like trance state. You love trance state. You meditate in trance state. Except it's not your natural awareness. It has wonderful experiences in it. It's good to have trance experiences. It's good to know them. It's a lot of fun. And you discover things about yourself you never knew. It actually gives power and enhancement. Except, in the Dzogchen tradition, you're asked at some point, hello? Go beyond the trance. Go beyond the trance. Enter the state of natural awareness. Then liberation will be yours. The fruitions of trance have their own fruitions. But it's not natural liberation. Another method, the main method, is simply gazing. Gazing within, gazing into the sky, gazing into the human face, gazing into the room, gazing into paintings, gazing into trees. But to become a master of awareness, one becomes a master of the gaze. So rather than focusing in right now, we're going to gaze a little bit, if that's okay with you all. We're just going to sit. And we're going to, if you're lying down, you can lie down. And we're going to gaze a little bit. Sharon's going to turn some of the lights off here, okay? We'll leave the candles on. And if it gets you nervous, you can come sit up here, because we're going to sit in the darkness for a little bit, okay? And gazing is a major method. And learning to gaze in the dark, because you get used to gazing, and then as you gaze, then you can gaze easier into yourself, and then you can gaze more into the world. So we're going to sit right now, and rather than having a closed-eyed meditation, we're going to gaze for a few minutes. We're going to gaze into the space in front of us. Gaze into the ceiling. You can gaze into the situation. We're going to leave our mouth open just a little bit. And in the Kayas and in the Dzogchen, the body, the subtle body, what they call the Gnostic body, is the body of light that slowly grows in us. And there are channels that come into our eyes. So you can even just sense those channels from your heart to your eyes. And then we're going to gaze. You're not looking for anything. You're not trying to see anything. You're just gazing. You're not looking. You're not scanning. You're not vigilant. You're not waiting. You're just gazing. The first part of the little talk I was describing what they call the Trekko practices, or some of them at least. This is called the Motogao practices, gazing. And we'll just gaze together for a little while. And we'll extend the field again through our bodies. We'll extend it to each other. We extend it to our generational field, the mothers and the fathers, and the fathers and the mothers. We gaze to the holy people we may have met or wanted to meet, and we gaze to and we extend to the deities, whatever our favorite. It could be the Christ consciousness, Shiva, Buddha. And these Dzogchen teachings are not limited to Buddhism. As the great masters declare, like Namkhe Norbo, they don't belong to any religion whatsoever. So you'll find them like in the Gnostic Christian tradition, Valerius. You'll find them in the Sufis like El Arabi. And you'll find them in the Shaivite masters also. You'll find these understandings any place. So we'll just gaze. Suspending judgment. There's no posture for Dzogchen. Suspending the mind. Bringing the mind into the awareness field. Feeling the arising of primordial awareness in our bodies. The great stillness. The luminous emptiness. The great compassion, which is pure love, unbound by judgment. If you feel yourself encapsulated in your body, extend to the person next to you. extend to me over here. Learn to extend your awareness. The great Yogi Pandapa Sanjay would say, to be in awareness is to be in intensity and relaxation. It is not simply quietude. It is not pacifism. It's not being dead in the water. Intensity and relaxation. Then whatever you experience, you bring it in. You bring it in. Annoyance, you bring it into the awareness. Love, you bring it into the awareness. Mental agitation, you bring it into the heart. The nature of awareness dissolves everything. The nature of awareness dissolves everything. You have a mean, ugly feeling arising. You allow it to arise. You don't stop it. You don't join it either. You allow it to arise. And then you'll see it dissolve. Just like everything arises out of the Dharmakaya and dissolves into the Dharmakaya, including yours truly. Love arises. You allow it to arise. Then it dissolves. Gazing. If you find yourself getting too external, you close your eyes, you go back, gaze into the gaze, then situating yourself in awareness, you open your eyes again. You open your whole body. You open up all the pores. You resonate to the sensuousness of the field of being. A good moment of self-esteem arises, good self-esteem. Wow. It arises. You allow it to dissolve in the heart. A bad moment of bad self-esteem arises. You allow it to arise and dissolve into the heart. without judgment, you will start to feel rather groundless at times. Because judgment anchors us over and over again. As we forego judgment, a sense of groundlessness arises. That is not easy, but it's a pass-through. Then space becomes the ground. If boredom arises, allow it to arise. Allow it to dissolve. Gazing into, leaning into. Sometimes you'll dissolve into complete darkness, shiny darkness. That is one manifestation of the Dharmakaya. None of it's fixed, doctrinaire. Sometimes you'll dissolve into luminosity. Sometimes the breath will stop. As you learn to suspend your mind, the breath will go into suspension. That is really a good thing. You will feel the breathless breath arising. Perhaps you feel it now. You're not holding the breath. You're not stopping it. It's just being suspended. And the Dzogchen meditation is very relational. It's not solipsistic. You have to keep opening the doors over and over again. And feeling the resonance of oneness. Feeling it arising. And using it to sustain awareness itself. Focusing from the heart up through the eyes. Feeling the connection between the heart and the eyes and the mouth. In the Dzogchen view, every experience is enlightened. The cosmos is enlightened. The different dimensions are enlightened. And following Lord Buddha's words before he died, when everyone was begging him not to go, he said very kindly, light your own fire. Take the authority into your own hands for your karmic unfolding. So you see, even if you believe everything I say today, yep, it's all true. And it's a belief because I'm the one who knows. It means nothing. The actual authority for the realization of divinity in your lifetime is your own awareness, your own story, your own will, your own understanding. And in this tradition, since we're coming to the end, one never ends meditative awareness. You might end a formal meditation, and formal meditation is really useful, because if you can't hold awareness in the stillness and darkness of your room and your body, as soon as you slam into the big city, you're going to lose it. So formal meditation is absolutely necessary. And actually, you have to go beyond the 20 minutes of your mind wandering around and thinking what's going to happen in the day, and really meditating for a good period of time, that you're located in the awareness state. So at the end of meditation, when you get up, you integrate your mind, you integrate the day, You integrate the night. You integrate the whole thing. If awareness is tiny, just a little tiny thing, the first intense affect will gulp it up like Pac-Man. The first strained ideation will stomp it. That's why the cultivation of awareness, becoming aware of awareness, on an ongoing cumulative basis, is method. In this tradition, there's direct knowingness, there's our awareness, and there's skillful means. We can have great capacity for awareness, really fortunate. But if we don't use skillful means, it'll be unused. We can have direct perception, but if it's not used skillfully, it won't bring us into the oneness that's our own. So we're going to start to end up right now, but we're not ending the awareness state. Really appreciate everybody coming today. Hope everybody had a good time. I hope you're in the field right now completely, and you're integrating sounds, thoughts. A few announcements. We're going to have Lama Wander coming, I think, in a couple of weeks. He's a great Dzogchen master. It really does help to meet masters, huh? You don't have to join the club, but to meet masters, people who have realized the field so completely that it's completely visible, then in that relationship, in that connection, in that singular moment of that day, in those two days, whatever that is, out of resonance and out of transmission, because part of the capacity we have, and masters have it fully, is the capacity to extend the field to each other. And as we extend it, then that helps bring forth the light. So the way we're going to end today, we're going to focus on people we know and love who may be having difficulties. And we're not imagining them. We're going to sense them in the reality of this world, this cosmos, living or dead. And we're going to extend the light of our own awareness to them. It is the light extending to the light. It is knowingness extending to knowingness. To feel this light come to you, to feel this knowingness come into your body, awakens knowingness in you and knowingness in me. That is the great gift we can give to human beings. That's the gift the great masters give, whatever tradition. To do Dzogchen, you do not have to be a Buddhist. You don't have to be anything, or you can be anything. It's not bound by religion. We'll extend now. We'll end by extending to each other one more time. We extend to our friends on the internet. We love meditating on the internet with people on the internet, not because we give great little talks in the morning, at all. But because it's just an icon of a matrix of people extending to each other and holding the field with each other. That way, the energy and light grows in our bodies and grows in the places we live. We're also going to have a retreat on June 5th to the 11th. It's supposed to be an advanced retreat. But if you sort of really love this sort of thing and you love it, you know. And then we can talk about it. They're upstairs, those little nundros, you can take them. And you can say them if you'd like. It's about 12 o'clock. We can rub our hands together if we want and give a little, we can just place them on top of our heart. I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. We'll have to turn the lights on. At least one maybe over there by the thing. And thank you guys for coming. I don't know if you want, you can get on our email list by signing one of those little sheets up there if you'd like. And we'll see you again, hopefully. If you have any questions about this topic of becoming aware, I'll be glad to chat with you, and so will Sharon, okay? And I'm going to turn the computer off right now.